Hey everyone, welcome to Read It on Reddit. Today we have AskReddit and the question is, what first date behavior is a deal breaker? I think when they don't even ask you about yourself, maybe that sounds weird, but I had a date that would be constantly talking about her life and friends and whatnot. I would ask her questions too, but she never once asked me about anything. Possessive behavior. If this is how you act with someone you've just met, how would a relationship with you be? I had a guy buy me a toothbrush after a third date so I can use it when I'm staying over at his house. He also wanted to see me every day of the week after the first date and got insulted if I denied. Then he would ask about every little detail that I did when I was not seeing him. I'm just not that social person and I don't want to see anyone 24/7 for 4 days in a row. Wasn't a good enough reason. Oh, and he also pressured me to tell him my Reddit account. Once, I was talking to this girl online, and things were going pretty well, so we decided to go for dinner. I showed up to the place 5 minutes early, so I waited. And kept waiting. Texted her 15 minutes after we were scheduled to meet, but didn't get a response. Waited for another 45 minutes then left. She messaged me later saying that she wasn't there because she lives in Indonesia. I live in New Jersey. How that even makes sense? What was she expecting? Showing up late and not texting ahead of time. You're not playing it cool if you're 20 minutes late without saying anything. It's insane to me the number of people who just can't be on time anymore. It tells me you don't value other people's time. Yeah, sometimes you hit traffic, the dog threw up, whatever, it happens, but you usually know who is honest about it and who is just making excuses pretty quick. I went on a first date about a year ago, right before COVID really hit. We met for lunch on a work day for me, but I have a flexible schedule. She was 30 minutes late and then for some reason parked 3 blocks away even though the place had an empty parking lot, which took her another 15 minutes to walk to. During lunch she mentions she was late because she had to stop at Target and Starbucks, which really pissed me off. We still have a good time, but after 2 hours I say I have to get back to work. I ask where she parked and she tells me, and I offer her a ride to her car and she says no. About an hour later she texts me saying it was rude I didn't walk her to her car. There was no second date. Wait, she expected you to walk her to her car, 15 minutes away, and then walk back to your car that was parked close to the restaurant. Yeah, she's a nutter. I can sort of understand her decline to your offer to drive her, but the other stuff, no clue there. Immediately starting with the I love you attitude. I really hope that's not a thing, to be honest. People can't just say they love you on first date, right? Wrong. Had a girl tell me she thought she loved me about halfway through our first date once. I brushed it off as flirty banter, then toward the end of our meal she says, "You know how I know you love me? You didn't say that you didn't love me when I said I loved you." She sounds crazy, man. That was my conclusion too. And the reason for no second date. Had another girl tell me she wanted to pull out my leg hairs and eat them, then stick a pencil in the end of my dick to keep the good stuff from coming out. Never even went on a date with that one. That was just after a couple weeks of casual conversation at work. Then when I didn't really respond with anything other than an okay, she told me I was terrible at flirting and stormed off. Introducing me to your boyfriend. Another one I can't believe, but comments below actually say it's a common thing. Jesus, I thought I was the only one that experienced that. I didn't even know she was in a relationship, let alone living with the guy. Really tainted the BJ she gave me in the park earlier that evening. Like and subscribe for a random BJ in the park. I dated a girl when I was in my early 20s who was married, but for citizenship reasons. I finally meet her husband and he approached me with a stink face and says, "I hear you're the guy who's been hugging my wife." Then throws his arms up and hugs me, "Glad to finally meet you. I've heard so much." Friendliest guy, and I'm still friends with both of those people to this day. Showed up late, getting all done up, told via text, but was in a ratty hoodie, and her clothes smelled musty. Super shy, quiet, barely spoke, even when asked innocuous questions. Until the movie started. Then she wouldn't shut the fuck up, kept staring at me, and asking the dumbest questions like, "How'd you get so tall? Do you like movies?" Sounds like a catch. I agree with the comment below. So, yeah, that sounds like someone who popped something that took a little while to kick in. Damn. It's been my experience that movies are only a good date after you're already together for a while. Like date number 5 or 6 at least. You really want to get to know someone through chatting on the first few dates, and it's rude to talk during a movie. It might be okay if you're getting drinks afterwards, but a risky bet. I fully agree with this comment. I made that mistake 3 times, all were very bad dates. Take them out to a restaurant, or a coffee shop. Talk, and make sure you click first. If he comes to pick you up and pees in your driveway before you all leave. Smelly, greasy hair, and no effort in appearance. If the first date isn't important enough for you to even shower, then how important will the relationship be to you? 100% agree. Last date I went on, pre-COVID, he turned up unwashed and in a wrinkly shirt. The shirt didn't really bother me, the deal breaker was his pungent body odor. LOL. Before I got married, my old roommate would always make comments if I was getting the house/my wardrobe ready pre-date. I didn't even know we had a clothes iron. You own cologne. Oh. The house is spotless. You have a date, or are your parents coming over? I still generally have wrinkly clothes, but I am kinda crazy about trying to always smell good. They say smell is one of our stronger memory triggers. Went on a first date a few years ago. He took me to an exclusive members-only club, bought the most expensive bottles of wine, handed me his wallet to pay for the wine, then excused himself to go to the bathroom. Also, I could see how much money he had. He had well over £2,000 in there. I thought that was weird, but chalked it up to him trying to impress me in a weird way. I wasn't. After that, he took me to a strip club where the bar staff knew him by name. I was incredibly uncomfortable, but it got even worse when 2 of his friends just coincidentally bumped into him at the club, sat with us, then hired strippers to sit on their laps. I stayed 5 minutes, then excused myself to the bathroom. The plan was to come up with an excuse to leave as soon as I got back. I returned, took another sip of my champagne, which I'd stupidly left unprotected before heading to the bathroom, stayed another 5 minutes, then said I had to leave. They tried everything they could to get me to stay, but I refused. As soon as I stood up, I felt lightheaded, and finally understood why. My drink had been spiked. I panicked and walked off, with my date following me desperately begging me to stay a little longer. He then offered to get in the taxi with me and escort me home. I refuse. I got to the taxi rank, got into a taxi, and we had a heated conversation with him offering to escort me home and me responding with "I'm a big girl and can take care of myself." Taxi driver must have sensed something was off and he intervened telling him I'd said no, and that was that. He drove off, asked for my address, got me home safe and sound. By then I was passed out in the back of the taxi. I don't remember how I got indoors, but I remember waking up on the bathroom floor the next morning feeling perfectly fine. No sign of a hangover, or anything, which solidified my belief I was never drunk to begin with and was definitely spiked. Remember girls, never take a drink or leave your drink with someone, and the boys, don't spike drinks, super illegal, unethical, and just fucked up. Making me do all the work, conversation-wise. I don't mind being the lead driver, but you need to at least pull your own weight. I've been on some dates that felt more like interviews. I would try everything I could to get an actual conversation going, but they ended up as Q&A sessions. This is absolutely a huge one for me. Nerves on a first date are one thing. I completely understand being slow to warm up in the feeling out process. But it's an entirely different thing for them to literally offer nothing conversation-wise, and only answer your attempts with short dead-end responses. What do you do with that? Had a date like this a year ago. We met on Reddit, hit off really well. She was really talkative in chat and in video calls, so it looked promising. Drove 3 hours to her because she lost most of her work as a film critic due to Corona while I have a consulting job. So no problem for me. When I arrive there she doesn't say a thing. Dodges every question. Completely not willing/able to engage in any form of communication. Like the total opposite person she was online. I hope she is just nervous, so I start talking a lot about myself hoping it would make her relax a bit. After 1 hour she just says, "This is not working for me," turns around, leaves me standing there. And to this day I have no fucking clue why this went so bad. Shout out to the greater than 100 replies and DMs calling me ugly. And people are wondering why I am a misanthrope P. Starting the date by saying that you've cleared your entire weekend, just in case this date works out and I'm free. No pressure. And the last reply is from a true gentleman, and if you enjoyed the video, Please like, subscribe and show it to your date. Wear a mask, and a condom. Ha. Reminds me of a date I had with a woman out of town. I told her I got a hotel room in her town and invited her to dinner. I had no hotel room, but I didn't want there to be weird awkward pressure. Ended up spending the night at her place. The next day, I confessed to never getting the room and she said something like, "No shit. I knew you didn't have a room. You were just giving me an out if I wanted one." Which I appreciated. Or something very close to that. This was many years ago.